The one thing that you're looking for is the place that you're looking from. Now, is there anything specific that you're looking for to fulfill you so you can feel happy, so you can finally feel joy, so you can finally find peace? If so, you may be looking in the wrong things, in the wrong places. So today we're going to cover exactly how to find the peace and joy you're truly actually looking for, and where it actually is going to surprise you. So stick along. We're going to break down peace, happiness, fulfillment from A through Z, from 0 to 100. So let's dig right in. The first thing that you have to realize, and this is a very simple concept, but a lot of people overlook it because it's such a misconception in our society. So your common understanding of joy, peace, satisfaction, this is you, right? You look pretty skinny. Maybe you've lost some weight. And then here's what you're going to do. And this is what society teaches you to do. There's this thing called joy, peace, happiness, right? But this is how you achieve it. What you do is that you look for external things outside of yourself, right? External things outside of yourself. And then you have to work very hard and you have to push and grind in order to for you to achieve these things. These things can be health, these things can be wealth, right? These things can be success. These things can be friends, right? And then what you have to do, your mission in life, right, is to work a very hard, very diligently, strategically for years, working hard, following all the rules of the game. So you can finally, once you finally achieve this, and this, and honestly, if it was that simple, if it was just four things that you had to achieve, and then finally you're happy, you are fulfilled, you finally achieved, and then everything that you wanted in life, right? That you will finally find peace if you achieve these four things, and it will be kind of easy. But in reality, it looks like this, right? It's not just four things, it's 1,000 things that you have to get right. You have to get perfectly aligned. Countless things that you have to get aligned just so you can finally get some peace and joy and true fulfillment in life. And here's the thing, these things never end. If it was just these four things, it would be kind of simple and easy. But it's never just four things. And then the funny thing is that even when you achieve, let's say there's 10 things now, right? Even when you achieve those 10 things, right? Did you finally achieve joy? Did you finally achieve true happiness, true joy, true fulfillment? You finally did it, right? No, because even when you get the other things, then you start thinking about other things. Your mind starts thinking of reasons why you're not happy yet, why you haven't found joy yet. And then is a continuous, never ending chase that basically chasing your tail around and around in the hope that finally, once you achieve these things, you will have happiness, you will have joy. Okay? Now, let's break this down. There is nothing wrong with achieving things in life: health, wealth, love, happiness. These are all things that I talk about often on this channel. And these are essential ingredients to creating a good life or even a great life. But joy, true, or let's call it happiness and fulfillment, is a different path, is not an external path that you have to follow in order to achieve true joy, true peace, a true happiness in your life. Is not an external journey, but an internal journey. Okay? So let's dive a little bit deeper into that now. So, premise number 1, people try to look for joy, peace, and happiness by external circumstances. Obviously, that doesn't work. And a pretty, evidence A is you can look at a lot of celebrities and a lot of, very wealthy or famous people that have many of these external circumstances figured out already, right? So they should have peace, they should have happiness, right? Wrong. If you study many people that have achieved many of these things that we're talking about, even though there's nothing wrong with them, they have the complete opposite of peace, the complete opposite of joy, the complete opposite of, being truly grounded and truly fulfilled, right? Now, does that mean that the external acquisition or success, achieving success, is that a bad thing? No, because we also see completely, you know, people that have nothing, that are utterly poor, that still can suffer and that still can have no peace or joy or true fulfillment in their lives. So what does that mean? That means that true peace and true happiness is not doesn't derive out of external circumstances, because we have examples in both opposite, right, in opposite uh sides of the spectrum. You think of like the rich and the wealthy and the famous, right, on this end, right? And then think of the poor, or like people that are really struggling in life. And what we see is that joy and peace is not mutually exclusive to either state. You have a lot of, let's say a poor yogi that renounces life and goes up to the mountains, and he's able to find peace in absolute poverty. And then there's also people that are very wealthy that can find internal peace as well if they follow the right process. So without further ado, what is that process? Okay, so step number one that we have to understand is that we checked off the box. We know we cannot achieve internal peace through external acquisition. We understand that. Great. So, how do we actually find true peace and happiness? Okay. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, remember the what you're looking for is the place that you're looking from. So, it's not an external journey that we need, as above, is an internal journey that you must follow, and that I honestly followed when I was in my initial quest of trying to find true peace, true joy, and happiness. Because I followed the traditional path and I accomplished many other things that society tells you to, but ultimately I felt that there was something. I feel like my peace and happiness was dependent on external things, because it was. So the fact that I would sometime in my life lose these things, which I knew I would eventually, then that already gave me the uncertainty that I didn't have true peace. And then that by default enabled me to understand that I had not found true peace. So, how do you find true peace and true joy in your life? Now, like I said, it's an internal journey. And this is going to be counterintuitive from what society tells you. But the simplest way to find true joy and happiness is to be. Okay? Now, I know this seems simple, and the honest truth is that most of the most powerful lessons I've learned in life are incredibly simple. But yes, all you have to do is be, which is the very opposite of what society tells you, which is to look for external things outside of yourself. Hustle, 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 acquisition, grab, achieve. Look, there's nothing wrong with success. I've worked on achieving uh, levels of success in my life. I'm not some yogi retreating from society. I run a business. I work out. I meditate. I enjoy hanging out with my friends. I work a lot on my personal success. So I don't think personal success is a bad thing. However, I am saying that the personal success and the practical logistical benefits of achieving real success in life, and the achievement of true peace and happiness, are two different paths. One is a path of external acquisition, which is good. Look, you need food, you need shelter, you need water, you need to provide for your family. These are all practical, logistical things that I recommend, and that I'll talk more about this on this channel, how to achieve those things. But then there's an other path, which is the path of peace, the path of true happiness, the path of liberation, and the two sometimes can go in opposite directions. Okay, so if external acquisition is not the answer, what is the answer? Like I said, is being, is the complete opposite of looking for things outside of yourself. Right now, I want you to remember this: looking for happiness, right, is the definition of misery, because you're looking for it instead of being happiness. Okay, instead of being, you're still looking. What I want you to understand is a lot of your misery, a lot of your lack of peace and joy is because you're looking for external things. So what we must do is we must reverse the order of operations. We must reverse and turn on its head everything that society tells you in terms of how to achieve true peace and joy. And we must look for it internally. Like, right? But here's the thing, you're actually not going to even look for it internally, because even looking for it internally, you are already looking again. In this case, you're looking for it in a different place. Before you look for it in external things, and now you're looking for it in internal things, but you're still looking. So, what is the answer? Like I said it before, and I'll say it again: being. You have to understand. You have to stop looking for it. It's the ceasing of looking, the ceasing of searching. That is the way in which you find true joy and happiness. Is a ceasing to seek. And what you'll find, and what I personally found for myself, is that when I stopped looking at it externally, for happiness externally, and I just simply ceased searching, ceased seeking, and I slowly, my attention, instead of being oriented outwards, it began to collapse or return to the initial place that it was searching from, right? And I initially sank more and more into myself, and I initially kind of like a wave in the ocean. Instead of being on the surface, that wave crashes into the ocean and ceases to be, and surrenders itself to the ocean. And what I noticed is that more and more I did this, the more happy and at peace I became. Because instead of being externally, outwardly projecting, looking, I ceased searching, looking, and the more I surrendered, the more I returned to myself, the more at peace and the more joy I felt in my life, right? But it's counterintuitive, because we have so many traps in life and in society which tells you that you have to look for it somewhere else. And a big trap of that is that it makes other people a lot of money for you to search for happiness outside of yourself, right? Because if somebody can sell you happiness, and this is a big part of what marketing is, if somebody can sell you happiness, they can make a lot of money, right? Whether it is selling you happiness through the acquisition of material things, or achieving happiness through the acquisition of friends and all these things, or maybe a home, a house, a car, that you were somehow sold this dream that when you accomplish these things, somehow, some way, you will become happy. Although it still doesn't solve the problem for you, and it makes you miserable, it makes other people a lot of money. So, what are some practical ways in which you can achieve this? Well, the first one is meditation, right? But in this meditation, you're not looking for anything. Again, this is where this becomes counterintuitive, because what you have to do is just stop. What you have to do is stop searching. But this is incredibly hard. Why? Because the reason why we look for external things again and again and again, right? Like in this lovely diagram, not only are we looking for these things, but here's the thing, we become addicted to the search. We become addicted to the hit of the acquisition, whether it's food, whether it's stimulation, whether it's drugs, whether it's validation from people, from social media. We become addicted to these things. So even though these things, the constant search of happiness externally is making us absolutely miserable, we still look for it, and we still can't stop, because many of these things we are utterly addicted to them. So this pattern of addiction locks you into this pattern of search and misery, right? It kind of looks like this. You start here, and you're looking for peace and happiness, correct? Okay. Then you look for it in something. It kind of works. It kind of sates you for a short term. It helps you. You feel better, and then it wears off. So then what you have to do is that you have to look for it again, right? But then that thing, whatever hit you got from whatever you obtain, wears off. So then you need a bigger hit, and you need to look for something greater, right? And then you're locked into this pattern of constant searching. And then many of these things that we're searching happiness for, because people want to make money, they addictively create patterns in order to hook us. Things like, for example, the nutritional the entire food industry where they are actively trying to make you addicted to salt, sugar, and fat, right? That's not by accident. It makes them a lot of money. It makes you addicted, but you're still not getting what you're looking for. So here's my challenge to you. I challenge you to set aside 30 minutes every day. Or you don't even have to start with 30 minutes. You can start with something like 5 minutes every day. And you set an alarm on your phone or wherever you get your notifications. And basically your job is to simply for 5 minutes just sit and don't do anything. Don't look at your phone, don't look for validation from friends or external circumstances. Just sit for 5 minutes a day and don't do anything. And what I found is that at first it was very hard to even sit for 5 minutes. But then I was able to sit for 10 minutes and not search. Then I was able to do 15 minutes. And subsequently, until I was able to finally break free from the constant pattern of externally looking for things. And I was able to finally achieve true peace and happiness by simply sitting and doing nothing. Now, here's the beautiful part. When you're able to sit in happiness and joy and bliss by yourself without doing anything in silence, right? And it takes time because at first, remember, many of these things that we are hooked on, right? They're addictive patterns, right? So at first, this sitting in emptiness and solitude and nothingness is going to feel like a withdrawal. You're going to feel literally visceral, physical reactions of you wanting to look for things externally. But you will resist those urges and you will simply sit. At first, at first, it will be difficult. But if you continue to do this throughout time, what you'll find is that you will be able to sit without the urges, right? And it doesn't feel as miserable as before. And then what you'll see is that throughout time it becomes easier and easier and easier, and your peace and joy will increase more and more and more. But your mind will try to trick you. Your mind will try to convince you to search for peace and happiness in the acquisition of something again, and the search begins again. But you have to remind yourself, and this will happen to you 1,000 times, and you will slowly come back to this place of just being. And the more you do this, the more you get used to it, the more your happiness, the more your peace, and the more your joy in real life will increase. And the beautiful thing about this is that once you're able to be at peace and once you're able to be happy, simply sitting, doing nothing, guess what? When you go back to other activities, whether it's searching or not even searching, but simply working towards something, you won't be working towards it because you think it's going to bring you something. You think it's going to bring you happiness. You already have peace and joy. So, whatever you engage with is going to be you bringing your joy, your peace, your happiness to that thing instead of trying to get it from it because you cannot get it from it. And no matter how many times you try, you will not get it from it. And even if you achieve circumstantial happiness, joy, peace from an external acquisition, guess what? Eventually, you are going to lose that thing because everything that is a gain fundamentally is a loss, right? So eventually, that those lessons, that intuitive understanding that this is how life actually works, will become your regular norm. And then from there, you will do things out of joy, out of peace, out of happiness, and more of a logistical, uh, out of a logistical motivation. For example, you need a job because you need to feed yourself, because you need shelter, because you need food, because you need nutrition. Otherwise, you can't play this beautiful game, right? And if you want to continue playing the game, you'll do these things out of logistics and out of fun and out of just of the biological impulse for us to survive as living organisms. But it doesn't mean that you will be searching peace and joy in those things because you've already found what you're looking for. Okay? Remember this. What you're looking for is the place that you're looking from. So stop looking and start being the peace, joy, and happiness you already are. Okay? With that said, if you want to learn more about how to master your life, how to wake up, how to master the game, and how to use those powers, that competency, that understanding to serve, to create, to build, Keep watching here, this video on the left, and I'll see you next time.